Let's try it. Take two. Shut up.
Thriller.
I love the both of you do it. All right.
Settle in and listen to our mixtape and other music vanishes. Enjoy your butt-up sandwiches.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the mixtape. I'm Jason Emmett.
I'm Casey Masterpiece.
I'm Twisted Kid Matt.
Jason Emmett about to get in it. That didn't really work.
It's
just
creepy
trying.
sounding, but all right.
Yeah, I was trying something. Didn't really work. So we are back, and I've got something. These guys have no idea what this week's episode is about, and that's okay because that was intentional. That was intentional. I didn't want you guys to know because you'll figure it out fast enough, but I want to hit you guys with your thoughts up front to see what you guys say, like to see what your reaction is. So that's always fun for me. It'll be fun for you guys too, I promise. I know I've promised other people in the past it would be fun for them, and it was really uncomfortable for them in the end, but this one.
Yeah. Backseat of a Volkswagen. This will be fun. You're like, no, it's too small. The car is.
Just be like, oh, yeah, you got it out. So we've been doing some different types of episodes just because it's been fun for us, and you guys seem to be responding well. We've done like people that were almost cast. That was a lot of fun. I like talking about people that almost made it in there but didn't quite get the role, and
somehow Margot Robbie was taking over Hollywood without us knowing it.
Yes, she was. Still is probably. Shows that got canceled way too soon, and like shows that we actually liked a lot that got canceled and stuff like that. So I've been discussing this one for a long time. That we are working on some other ones. One that we have been talking about doing for a long time is actually in the works right now, and that is movies that weren't so great but that have awesome soundtracks. I don't know what we'll end up calling it, but that is one we are currently working on. So that might be the next one. You never know.
It's called Soundtracks Great, Movie Sucks.
Movie Sucks. But this week I wanted to do something a little different. So if you guys have read whatever title we decide on, you'll probably have some kind of a clue. But these two, no idea right now. So we're just going to start right here. I am going to read you a plot synopsis, and you tell me what movie it is. That's it.
All right.
That's what we're going to do. Ready? So this film starts off with a daring daytime robbery, right? After that, a young FBI agent investigates a string of robberies, and he's sent undercover to infiltrate a world of extreme thrill-seeking individuals who live like a family. At first, these guys aren't so sure about this new guy, but he slowly gets their trust, and he begins to become a part of their inner circle. He even develops a romantic relationship with one of them. But as fate would have it, there's another group, and this young agent gets his bosses to raid that group because he thinks they're the bad guys that are doing all the robberies, but he's wrong. It turns out they weren't the right group, and the agent is forced to face the fact that the people he's hanging out with are, in fact, the robbers. He then confronts the head of the family, but he lets that guy go, and in the end, the young agent decides to turn his back on his agency altogether.
Fast and Furious.
Is it?
I thought Reservoir Dogs until you said they developed a romantic relationship, and I was like, I don't think that happens in Reservoir Dogs.
Fast and Furious from 2001, or is it
Point
Break?
Oh,
1991.
Yeah.
So now you know what this week's episode is going to be about. Either of those would have been fine because they're pretty much the same movie. Now, I've been saying for years, beat for beat, these are the same movie.
Yeah.
These two aren't different.
Pretty similar, yeah.
So that's what we're gonna talk about. Some of it I'm going to read you guys the synopsis and see if you can tell me what movie it is. And some of them I'm just going to tell you the two movies and then tell you how similar they are just to get your reaction.
Now I'm just thinking about if there was like a Point Break number 10 with like Keanu be in space.
There was a remake. There was a Point Break remake.
Which side note, we could play that game we were talking about for Kevin with me on this one. I have never seen Point Break all the way through.
Really, it's a pretty good movie. Like
honestly, neither have I. I just
but
know
it is silly because so at the end, like there is no way they didn't.
Like somebody had to know that.
Absolutely,
like, hey, this is basically Point Break with cars.
I didn't do the research, and you know how it goes. We might get comments, but there is a possibility that some of the same people worked on this.
It could
and it
be.
was
I could
intentional.
totally see that.
So
Yeah.
most people don't know. The
If so, I'll
Fast and
pop it up on
Furious,
screen.
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get a lot of hate for it, is a remake of sorts. It's not really, only in name alone. The Fast and the Furious, that name actually existed previously on a movie about cars from like way back in like I don't know when it was from. So, but it's nothing like it from what I gather. They have nothing to do with each other.
It's probably a Western or something.
But
It sounds like a Western title.
I remember watching the Fast and the Furious and leaving the theater. And by the way, I really like the first couple of Fast and Furious movies. I continue to watch them, even though I hate them now. But I liked the first few. Well, now it's
Just want to see how ridiculous it gets.
I gotta finish now, man. Because who knows? I don't know how Dom is going to survive that dam that blew up and the whole water's coming down on him and his son. He'll probably turn into Aquaman. Who the fuck knows? They don't care about physics in these movies. They just do whatever. These guys. Oh, and there's no. I'm about to hate on Fast and Furious. There's no consequences. So there's no reason to freak out because everybody who's died, they just bring back. You know, all the good guys who have died in previous movies, they've brought back.
I've only
I'm surprised
watched.
they're not doing like a
couple of
multiverse thing.
Oh God, it is fucking ridiculous what they do now. And here's what I'm about to tell you. And one of the last ones, they flew a Fiero in outer space, and that's not the most ridiculous thing they've done. So there you go. Point Break's a pretty good movie. At the end of Point Break, though, so Lori Petty's in it, and Keanu Reeves develops a relationship with Lori, and they are like a family. They go around. They're into extreme sports. They go around, and they're using their little group to rob places, dressed in president's masks, by the way. It's Ronald Reagan masks, I believe. And they even raid another group of extreme sporters who because Keanu starts becoming friends with them, and he doesn't want to believe it's them. So he gets his bosses to raid another group. Everybody of this happens in Fast and the Furious. Only he's wrong. They're not they are doing something, but they're not the group. Now he has to confront them about it. In the end of Point Break, he lets Patrick Swayze go, even though he knows he's going to his death. Because he lets him run out, and
he fires his pew, pew, up into the air a bunch of times. Yeah, I know that from Hot Fuzz. That's why I know that from.
There's this wave in Australia that he keeps talking about. No one survives this wave, and he's like, he just looks at him with the surfboard and he lets him go off, and he knows he's going to die, but he lets him go anyway. That's how it ends. And Fast and Furious, they do the car race thing. And he kind of looks at Dom and just lets him go at the end. So it's pretty much the same ending, too.
Yeah.
It's very weird. They're very much similar. So the next one, I'm going to tell you the movie, the first movie, and then the second movie. Actually, I'll tell you the first movie. I'll tell you what it is, and I'll read you the plot. And before I get into the plot of the second movie, you tell me if you know what it is. So in 2012, a movie comes out called Lockout, right?
Okay.
So Lockout set in 2079. And the daughter of the American president is on a humanitarian mission to MS-1, which is a prison in outer space, where it is blocked off from normal society. The prison houses 500 of the most dangerous criminals, all kept in stasis, a la Demolition Man. So when she arrives there, the prisoners happen to wake up, and they stage a rebellion, and she's trapped. Enter Snow, played by Guy Pearce.
Okay.
Snow is a government agent who was wrongly convicted of a crime, and he's about to be imprisoned on MS-1. They offer Snow a deal. Go in, get the president's daughter out, and you'll have your freedom.
I think I already know the other one.
What do you think it is?
Escape from New York.
Escape from New York, 1981. Manhattan Island, 1997 is when it's set. And Manhattan Island has been turned into a maximum security prison.
That is a horribly photoshopped poster, by the way.
Right.
Unless that is what her face really looks like. In which case,
Maggie Grace. So
I don't
know. She makes weird faces sometimes.
AI.
Right.
Just
19.
check her fingers.
This is way before check her fingers.
Come on, you know how those AI fingers.
Yeah. They look like my finger.
Weird deformed hot dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so 1997, Manhattan Island has been turned into a maximum security prison and sectioned off from normal society. Air Force One is brought down while flying over, and the president is trapped inside with criminals who have long since taken over. Enter Snake. Snake Plissken is a former Special Forces soldier. So they're both former government agents,
Yeah.
soldiers, who is about to be imprisoned in Manhattan Island. They're both about to be imprisoned on the places they are then sent into. But they offer him a deal. Go in, get the president out, and you will have your freedom. So I enjoyed Lockout. It did not do well. People did not like it, but I think it's kind of a fun movie. I remember when I saw Lockout, I was like, yeah, this is pretty much Escape from New York, you know? Well, I wasn't the only one who thought so. John Carpenter also thought this is pretty much Escape from New York. He actually sued Luc Besson for plagiarism, and he won.
Oh, well.
Which I want you to keep that in mind for something we're going to talk about here in a bit, because the same thing happened, only not the same outcome. So Luc Besson actually tried to appeal this, but he lost that appeal. I do understand a lot of movies have similar plots. Where that's what this whole episode is about. But you heard the plots here. There is no way they weren't cribbing. Like they
had to know.
You will never convince me they weren't going, we're making a modern Escape from New York. They're different movies, but with very similar plots. So
totally different posters.
It's a very different. I bet
By the way, that's just some great imagery. Statue of Liberty in the middle of like downtown Manhattan, which they did the same thing in Cloverfield.
Which, Escape from New York was one of the earlier movies to have CGI in it.
Really?
Didn't know that.
The glider scene. I'm assuming you've watched Escape from New York. The glider scene, the glider, he lands on top of the building or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Really?
It's computer generated. Yeah, pretty cool, huh? So I'll let you know. All right. This next one, what I'm going to do is I am once again going to read you plot. I assume neither of you have seen Lockout.
I've never heard of it.
It didn't do well. It bombed, but it's actually kind of a fun movie. Matt, you would probably enjoy it. Kevin, you might enjoy it too. It's very like sci-fi, but not over the top sci-fi. Guy Pearce. Whatever happened to Guy Pearce? I haven't seen him in a while.
And he forgot about his entire career after about 30 seconds.
Shut up. I love Memento. It's a great movie.
He should have tattooed it on his chest. I am an actor.
I am an actor. I do movies. He just starts tattooing his script. What are you doing here? I love you too.
It's like, why does this guy keep reading his arm? Sounds like, oh,
Matt, I gotta say, man, this is totally tangent and way off subject, but I can't help it. Something about what we just said made me think of it. And it's been weeks of me going, I didn't hit her. I didn't. My kid will walk in the room and I'll go, I didn't hit her. I didn't. Oh, hi, Xander.
That's bullshit. I did not.
I did not hit her. Oh, hi, Mark. And then like Melissa will walk in and I'll be like, Melissa, you're driving me. You're tearing me
She just
apart.
needs to walk in and she just goes, I got the test results back. I definitely have breast cancer. And then just never mention it again in the rest of her entire life.
God, that movie is so bizarre, man.
Kevin's
we're
very
talking
Tommy Wiseau Theater
Yeah,
here.
we're referencing the room. If you haven't seen it, you don't even have to watch it. You can go on and watch just the super cuts of the.
I've seen like clips of The Room, and I kind of get it. Yeah,
but the famous line that me and Matt just say all the time is, "Oh, hi, Mark."
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
And Matt works with a guy named Mark, so he's always wanting to go, "Oh, hi, Mark." I told him he should. Just don't tell him why. Just keep saying it. Every time you say it, do it exactly like that. Oh, hi, Mark.
I've actually told people to do it in email form.
I bet
you got to spell it H-A-I. Oh, hi, Mark. Hi.
Oh, hi. All right. I'm going to read you this plot, and you guys tell me what movie it is. Ready?
All right.
A cocky young professional on top of the world is heading out to California and crossing through a small town when there's an accident and the young lad accidentally causes damage to property. He is taken in front of a judge and sentenced to community service. That lad wants to get it done and get out of that town ASAP, feeling that he's above the local yokels there. But then he begins to form friendships. He meets a girl, starts seeing the place in a different light. He ends up going to California, but realizes how special that small town was and ultimately returns there to make it his home. Do you guys know what movie that is?
I think it's a Michael J. Fox movie.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you think it is, Matt?
Is it Doc Hollywood?
It could be, or it could be Cars,
Okay.
because they are the exact same plot.
Yeah.
no difference.
I like how Kevin and I are both just like, Michael J. Fox is involved in this. I know.
Right.
I think it's Doc Hollywood.
2006 Cars. Here's the funny thing. My wife and I were discussing this, and we both agreed. When we were watching Cars for the first time, we were like, isn't this Doc Hollywood? And it is. So much so that there's names. The car in this is Hudson, and I'm pretty sure, is it the judge? Somebody's name is Hudson and Doc Hollywood. There are references. Mater is clearly Woody Harrelson. Yeah, totally. These movies are almost exactly the same. And I think that this was intentional. I think they knew what they were doing.
That'd be hilarious if Pixar just starts remaking other movies, just like, we're going to animate it, and they're going to be cars this time.
We're just going to make cars. But
it's Romeo and Juliet, but with lizards.
Tell me you don't see it, though.
No,
same movie.
Yeah, same plot.
Beat for beat, same movie.
Yeah. Michael J. Fox says ka-chow a lot in it.
That would be ka-chow. So in this, they're trying to convince Michael J. Fox to stay in town and become their new doctor. And Cars, I don't know that they have any specific thing they want him. They want him to kind of help them. Their town was a big part of, like, it got a lot of
Radiator Falls.
Yeah, well, it was on Route 66 or whatever, and they had a bunch of tourism, and then they changed the road on them, and so the town was falling apart. And I think they thought like lightning could help draw people back in and help save the town, but he accidentally causes damage on his way to California.
Yeah,
they're both on their way to California, causes damage. The judge sentences him to community service to fix the damage. He half-asses it just so he can get out of there. He meets the locals, meets a girl, she starts showing him around the town. He falls in love with it. In the end, he leaves.
He looks at the girl and is like, check out that tailpipe. And it's like, fall in love with each other.
But they both do. They leave in the end. Michael J. Fox goes to Hollywood to be a plastic surgeon, and he goes to race the race, but they end up coming back. It's the same freaking movie, man. It's crazy.
Such a weird. Did they think that it was such an obscure movie that nobody would catch that when it's not that obscure of a movie, when two of the three of us
recognized it?
I think it shows age. So like we all lean towards Doc Hollywood right off the bat, but when I've talked to, like, when I brought this up to my daughter, who's 18, she's like, oh, it's Cars. And my wife was right next to her, so like, it's Doc Hollywood. I was like, right, you see where we're going here.
Mm-hmm.
Same basic plots, same basic movies.
That's crazy.
And again, I think this is one of those where they knew somewhere along the lines there was some agreement, something happened. I don't, I'm always curious. I should have looked up the writers on some of these, but some of them
I'll pop it up on screen. I'm going to be saying that for every movie comparison.
Like the next two movies, I don't have to bring them up because, well, one, I know what happened, and two, they're from drastically different eras. So the first one we're going to talk about is a film from 1954, which I've seen, and I'm betting both of you have seen. Rear Window, 1954.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Rear Window. All right. So after breaking his leg, a man is confined to a wheelchair in his apartment. Bored, he begins to watch his neighbors through the window using a set of binoculars. One night, after hearing what he believes is a scream, he witnesses one of his neighbors carrying out several suitcases.
I already think I know.
The next day, he sees the neighbor cleaning a knife and a saw. He becomes convinced that guy has murdered his wife. At one point, he calls the police, who investigate, but they find nothing, and it makes him look foolish. He has a love interest who he sends over to the guy's apartment. That backfires. And in the end, although he is injured, he kills the bad guy. Matt, you think you know?
Yeah.
Before Matt.
I'm trying to think of the name of the movie, but it was a movie with Shia LaBeouf on 2008. He was like on house arrest.
Disturbia.
Yeah.
Disturbia. In this movie, a young man punches his Spanish teacher for making a comment about his recently deceased father, and is sentenced to 3 months house arrest.
Kind of well deserved, by the way. It's kind of
bored.
Happy Father's Day, by the way.
Thank you. Bored, he ends up finding a pair of binoculars and turns the neighbors into his own little television show. He starts to get suspicious of one of his neighbors after witnessing some strange activity and begins to think the guy might be a killer. The young man has a love interest whom he gets involved and sends to spy on the suspected killer, and that backfires. He also alerts the police at one point, and they find nothing, and he looks like a moron. Eventually, it all comes to a head, and although injured, he kills the bad guy. So-
it has a little bit of echoes of the Burbs as well.
Maybe a
Little bit.
There's some party stuff. I like Disturbia. I actually think it's a decent
Yeah.
movie. I like Rear Window.
Yeah.
Here's the thing,
Which has
I'll-
also been remade with Christopher
Yeah,
Reeves,
the
in it
Christopher Reeves.
after his accident.
Yeah.
So he was already he was
Oh.
paralyzed in the wheelchair.
It was a made-for-TV movie, I
Yeah.
think, though, when he did it. Yeah, and that was a direct remake of Rear
Yeah.
Window. So much like Lockout, this one shocked me. There was a lawsuit brought up against one of the executive producers, Steven Spielberg, and his
Oh.
production company, DreamWorks, and the distributor Paramount Pictures. But that was dismissed in 2010 due to the similarities simply being too general. So they gave Lockout. That they got sued and lost. And here's what's funny: these two movies are way more similar than Lockout
Yeah.
and Escape from New York. So much so that when I watched Disturbia, I always thought they were.
I thought it was a remake, to be honest.
I thought it was a remake.
Yeah.
I thought that was the intentional. But it wasn't. Apparently, they
Yeah.
got sued for this crap.
I kind of
And
expected
when-
Rihanna to have a song pop up in it too, but that didn't happen.
Shut up. What's wrong with you? But it's just crazy. Like I when I saw Disturbia, when I saw the preview, I was like, oh, they're doing like a modern version of Rear
Yeah.
Window, and there's no way they weren't. Like you will never convince me that's not like somebody came to them and said, okay,
The
let's
only
do Rear Window.
the only like real difference is it's not an apartment building, it's his neighborhood.
Yeah, but that's.
Only difference to me.
I mean, I can tell you a buttload of remakes where it's like they changed a considerable enough amount where it's
Yeah.
like, but it was still considered a remake.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way when they approached them to do this movie, they weren't like, all right, so it's Rear Window, only set in modern times. I promise you
Yeah.
that was the pitch.
With a teenager instead of a middle-aged
teenager.
man.
Yeah. It's a decent movie. Disturbia is
Yeah.
not bad. It's really worth a watch. Shia LaBeouf is one of those characters where he gets hate not because he's a bad actor, because he's not. He's just so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His behavior offset, I guess, is just
Yeah.
bizarre.
I mean, does he have bipolar disorder by any chance? Do we
Maybe.
know?
I don't
or
know,
something.
but
I mean, he runs
he
hot
at
and
least
cold
like
sometimes.
encourages you to just do it though.
Just do it.
Yeah, I mean,
I
part of
agree
me
with you,
kind of
Kev.
want to root for the guy. And
Yeah.
another part
Well-
was like, it's
Well,
Someday
he's
he'll get
never-
even Stevens.
He's
Yeah.
no.
that's a good thing.
I don't think he's only done weird stuff. To the best of my knowledge, he's never done anything where he's like harmed anyone or
I've heard different.
racist stuff.
Yeah.
Has he?
I believe there was
uh,
some substance issues that caused some
Substance abuse.
yeah,
altercations with people,
What kind of altercation?
like
I don't wanna say-
fighting.
yeah, like ex-girlfriends,
Yeah.
you
Do we want to
know,
put a cut point here and
that
investigate
sucks.
and come back?
No, that's
yeah.
it's not the Shia LaBeouf cast, but you
Yeah.
know, that's one thing. And if that's true, that sucks. But
We'll call it
You know,
beef cast.
if he got in a fight because some motherfucker opened his big mouth, well, good for him. You know, but
Right.
if he's hitting his girls or whatever, his girlfriend or whatever, that's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, but I don't
We'll
really
figure
know,
it
so
out
I'm
and
not-
we'll put
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
not
this
gonna
is all allegations,
Google it.
hearsay. So
Yeah, I'm not going
mean,
to speak on it.
yeah.
But I don't think there's any question as to whether or not he's a good actor, because
Oh,
he is.
yeah.
Holes is a great movie. Like Holes I love the movie Holes, and
And the
I love
Transformers movies, man.
the first one's good.
mhm.
I'm just waiting to see the hate comments come in on that one.
The first one's good. I like the second one. They really start just
Yeah.
after that. There's a whole.
Although Transformers 1, I think
Bumblebee is great. One looks great, but
that one
that's-
looks awesome. Yeah.
Bumblebee's good too, but again, slightly different. They went a different direction. So,
Yeah.
And every once in a while, he owns up to it, like in the actual Cannibal Shia LaBeouf video. When he
I
just
love
decided
that video.
they
That's
record
so
that song,
funny.
and they didn't. He just agreed to do the video like that. That was cool of him, you know.
Yeah.
So
Literally an entire video just accusing him of being a murderous cannibal.
cool, Cannibal Shia LaBeouf. That's so great. But Disturbia is a decent movie, and this was earlier on too for him. So this is 2008, so it was a while ago. This was, so. But yeah, they got sued for it. So obviously they did not. So they probably knew what they were doing, but they didn't try to get the rights. They thought they could get away with. And they did get away with it. So I guess it worked out for them. All right, I'm going to go into the next one, and I'm not going to hold back. I'm not going to try to trick you with this synopsis.
Jay, holding back?
I know.
What?
I'm not going to try to trick you with the synopsis. I'm just going to read what the first synopsis is.
All right.
Then I'm going to read what the second film is, and I'm just going to read it the way I wrote it. Ready? 1986, Top Gun. A cocky young Tom Cruise is thrust into the Naval Academy's Top Gun program and brings alongside his best pal, radar officer Goose. He struggles at first with all the new rules. There's an older gentleman who helps Tom see the light after an accident where his best buddy is killed. He also has a rivalry with another pilot, Iceman, that tends to carry over into a large portion of the plot. He develops a romantic relationship with a hot astrophysicist, and in the end, his impressive maneuvers and skills save the day, and he becomes new besties with his old rival, Iceman. Days of Thunder, 1990. A cocky Tom Cruise is hired to pilot a new Chevy NASCAR, spelled the same. Chevy NASCAR, alongside his pal and pit crew buddy who he drags out of retirement. He comes from a smaller racing world, and at first he struggles to adjust with these bigger vehicles. He also has a rivalry with another driver named Rowdy that tends to carry over into a large portion of the plot. His new friend doesn't die in this one, but he does have to go through brain surgery. He also develops a romantic relationship with a hot neurosurgeon, not an astrophysicist, but a neurosurgeon. In the end, his maneuvers and skills help him win the race, and he becomes besties with his former rival. Now, look, here's what we're going to say about this.
Hey, Tom, we're going to remake another movie that you've been in. You cool with that? Sure.
The first thing, I'm going to save that for a second because I have a feeling we're going to get some comments from you too, and I welcome them. Okay. So there are a lot of vague differences between these two movies. There really are. But in the end, if you would have just put him in a plane in Days of Thunder, it would have been like the same freaking movie. There are differences, but not enough. They are so similar in the plot points, and the fact that in Top Gun he falls for a hot astrophysicist, and Days of Thunder she's a hot neurosurgeon. It's just like
she could have just been like a secretary or something, or a waitress. No, neurosurgeon, the one that happens to be working on your friend's brain.
Yes. Apparently you've seen Days of Thunder. I'm sorry.
No, I haven't.
Really?
I just guessed.
Neither have I. I've been on the ride at Kings Island, but that's it.
It's Nicole Kidman.
Wait a minute. You'll ride the ride, but you won't watch the movie. Is that what you do for like everything? Is like, I'm not gonna watch Batman Returns, but I'll ride Batman the Ride at Six Flags. Is that what you do?
I mean, the Batmobile. I mean, that's kind of cool, right?
Wouldn't you, Matt?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not sure. I can't remember. They met he and Nicole Kidman either met on this set. They were also in that. What was it? Was
Legends of the Fall?
Legends of the Fall.
Wait.
No, not Legends of the Fall.
Once upon no.
we could all look this up. Hang on.
Once upon a time in Mexico. It was
something Days of Future Past or something.
People are losing their minds at home right now.
Tom Cruise met Nicole Kidman.
I think it was like a Ron Howard film.
We can all picture the movie.
When did they meet? I know the movie. They're like he's running the thing. Like, no, they met while filming Days of Thunder.
Yeah, but we're right. They went on to
the other movie though,
together where she uses her Australian accent.
They play like immigrants coming to America. Yeah.
No, it's not
wasn't coming to America. No, but totally different movie.
They were like, it was that time in history where you had to like run with a flag and like stick it in the ground, and then all of a sudden that's your land, and then you brought your family there and like you started tilling wheat and shit. What the hell is that movie?
Whole new podcast. Matt describes history. You run and you stick a flag in the ground, and that is yours.
You claim it. It's called Manifest Destiny, but with
you make a house out of dirt, and
you said Legends of the Fall because that's not far off. It's something like
it's one of those like period piece movies.
Yes,
there's a Tom Cruise Jr. apparently. I don't think it's his kid.
Somebody else's kid.
Someone else's kid named Tom Cruise.
I think it's his. Whose kid is it? It's not.
Well, it's
Eddie
definitely
Murphy's.
not Eyes Wide Shut.
Yes,
not
that's
that.
what it is.
Although they are in that. No, not
It's
Born on the 4th of July, but that does
Far
involve
and Away.
flags.
It's Far and Away, and
that's it.
1992, 2 years after Days of Thunder. Far and
Yeah.
Away is the name of.
Oh, yeah. Joseph
And
Donnelly.
They're an Irish couple that flee to the United States, Kevin. So you are correct, and she's Australian. So I said she uses her accent. Apparently, she does not use her. She has to put a little Aussie spin on it.
She's Australian Irish. Australian.
Oh, is she Irish or is she
in the movie?
Yeah,
she's
a
supposed
lot
to
of
be.
Irish went to Australia.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my friends who happens to be Australian is, have Irish ancestry.
I think we all have.
It was the Great Land Rush. That's what I was trying to describe with the flags, and it's the Great Land Rush.
It's where they just lined everybody up with a flag and said, "Go!"
Yeah, you get an acre. Now you get an acre.
You get an acre.
Yeah.
I think we all have a little Irish in us, Kevin.
Yeah, I just ate some Lucky Charms earlier this morning.
Yeah.
So
hey, I have some of those too. All right. So the thing I got to really tell you guys is Tom Cruise's name in Days of Thunder. Oh, first of all, do you guys know what his name is in Top Gun?
I was wondering about that. Do they even get into that, or do they just go by their call signs in that movie? Because I'm on the record. Top Gun's a terrible movie. Okay?
I don't like it either.
It is awful.
I watched Maverick recently. It's better.
I literally determined that because I didn't like Top Gun, I was not going to watch Maverick because there's no.
It's better. It is better. It's similar. But it is better. Like I enjoyed it enough. Like I was like, okay, it's all right. And they do like a really cool.
Wait, Tom Cruise Jr. is a fully CGI, just dead-eyed looking creation that was only in the 4th annual On Cinema Oscar special in 2016. It's not a real person. Thankfully.
So
horrifying.
One thing I will tell you about that I really appreciated about Top Gun Maverick is that Val Kilmer is in it, and he has a significant part, and they addressed it in a way that I really liked that because I love
a respectful way. Hopefully,
yes.
Okay.
Yes, he's a very important character in it, and you'll like him, and I'm glad they did it. And I've always really liked Val Kilmer, and it was always kind of sucky. If there's a documentary that he did called Val, it's on like Hulu or something. But
yeah, he like filmed most of his life.
He walked around with a video recorder, and his son narrates it, and they did a whole for a guy who has suffered what he has suffered, he is like full of life and just like, I don't know, he's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been on my list of things to watch. I just haven't, because it feels like it's one of those like it's going to be hard to watch kind of thing.
No, it's not though. It in parts, but overall it's very positive. So
okay.
So his name in Top Gun is Pete Mitchell. I only know this because I just watched Maverick. So his name is Pete Mitchell. But they do mostly refer to each other as call signs in almost all the movies.
And they're credited as that in Top Gun.
But in Days of Thunder, his name is Cole Trickle.
Cole
Trickle.
That's calling, because I got my NASCAR roots. Dick Trickle, which is another hilarious name.
Very famous NASCAR driver, believe it or not, Dick Trickle. I always thought it was a reference to G.I. Joe. I'm Cole Trickle, you'll be joining us soon. No.
Wait, they named him after a
G.I. Joe
character?
No.
The name of Kevin, do you know what that was?
You don't remember that? Yeah.
You remember the name of the band?
Cold Slither.
Old Slither. We're Cold Slither. You'll be joining us soon.
Oh, is that the Cobra band?
Yeah.
Yes, they hypnotize everybody with their music. Cold Trickle, Cold Slither. It's very similar. Cold Trickle was his name.
That's a fucking journey we just went on.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. This is, I only got one more movie to talk about, and then I'm going to turn it over to you guys to see if there were any. We'll discuss any movies you guys ever like remember watching, thinking to yourself, like, I always thought this kind of reminded me of, and then fill in the gap here. But so I'm going to read you one more synopsis, and you guys tell me what movie this is. Ready? A man with a leg injury, I might add, that's sort of important, is sent out to an outpost in the middle of nowhere. He ends up being taken in by the native inhabitants there, and he starts to assimilate to their way of life. Already, you guys your brains are ticking. Eventually, the man falls in love with one of those inhabitants. He helps translate. She helps translate to the rest of her people. By the way, that's important as well. At first, the people don't agree with this relationship, but in time, they start to accept the outsider, and they actually encourage it. Eventually, the man turns his back on his people, who sent him there, as he realizes that they're totally in the wrong, and they just they're going to destroy everything.
Point Break again.
There's yes, damn. There's a huge battle, and the man and the native tribe win, but they know it's likely only temporary, and that things will probably continue. So, what movie is it, guys? Let's hear it.
Dances with Wolves.
Yeah, or
Avatar.
It's the same movie. I also want to mention they give him care for his leg. They offer him care if he performs actions they want him to. So in the first movie, in Dances with Wolves, because he's a hero, they fix his leg for him. In Avatar, they tell him they will fix his legs for him if he does what they want him to do. Because in Avatar, he doesn't have the use of his legs, only in the Avatar form. I remember watching Avatar in the theater and thinking it was a cool movie, but instantly, like halfway through, I'm like, but I did like this better as Dances with Wolves.
Mm-hmm. It's Dances with Wolves with Smurfs, pretty much.
Dances with Smurfs, if you will.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly.
Not only will you have legs, you'll also be like 10 feet tall, and you have to go seek unobtainium,
which is
unobtainable material.
And Gargamel's in a mech suit, trying to kill
Gargamel's
for as cool as I think these,
it's his Gargamel suit.
As cool as I think these, I do like the Avatar movies. I'm not in love with them as much as some people, but I do like them a lot. I always thought,
we don't need 26 of them.
You couldn't come up with a better name. Well, I don't mind, because exploring the world of Pandora is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And Avatar, though, the second one, what is it? The Way of Water.
Way of Water.
Did you see it?
I haven't seen it. No.
The effects are amazingly mind-blowing. Like, it is hard to, so much so, I think we've talked about them here before, but I watched the Corridor Crew, which is a group of guys. Yeah. They're special effects artists. They have they do work in it. And then they do a show on YouTube, and they will like go over special effects, what they think is good and what they think is bad. And they break down a scene at the new Avatar, and they can't decide. They were arguing back and forth whether the scene was practical or CG, and it turns out a lot of it was CG that they thought was because it looks so good. The water, it is almost seamless what scenes are real and what aren't real in the new one. So it's pretty cool.
Damn.
Yeah, and the stories are interesting enough. They're fun. I mean, the first one's Dances with Wolves, and it's an amazing movie. So
right.
There are differences, but the plot is the same. It just is. I'm not the first person to point that out. It's been pointed out many, many times. We've pointed it out on the show before. We've cracked the joke. I liked it better when it was Dances with Wolves, but same movie, beat for beat. So with that kind of being said, there were others I kind of tossed around, like, because I've always thought like these are very similar. And sometimes I think people got to understand, like, there are similar plots throughout Hollywood, but I wanted ones that were like, the plot pitch meeting had to be almost the same thing. Which movie am I pitching you? Like, someone in that meeting had to be going,
like, wait, what you're describing is this Wolves? Other thing. Yeah.
So what you're saying is you want to remake Escape from New York? No, it's the president's daughter.
Yeah.
What's the hero's name?
Less stakes.
So what's the hero's name? Snow.
That sounds like Snake.
Snow. Well, okay. Well, what is?
But he's gonna have two eyes. Snake Plissken only had one. Come on.
What is this guy? Well, he's a
totally different movie. Agent. Yeah. He doesn't have a hang glider.
Yeah,
he's got a real plane.
Have there ever been movies where you were like, okay, I mean, this is clearly like, if it's not like
the movie Rat Race, it was Mad World.
Oh yeah.
I think that. I think
that was intentional.
It was partially intentional. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like the movie Rat Race, but I think that was partially intentional. Like, they were kind of they do this thing where they're like, we're going to do a modern retelling of said movie.
Yeah.
And that does happen sometimes. And I'm often curious if they give credit or not. Yeah, it is fine. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm also that guy that tells people all the time that I don't mind remakes, even if they suck, because the original's still there. Now, I will agree that there are certain movies. Well, that would be a really fun episode because we could get in some arguments there. There are movies that don't remake them because you can't, and they won't listen on that.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you can't. How does one explain this? You can't remake the Goonies.
No,
you can't.
Try,
it has a different vibe now.
It's a product of its time.
Yeah, kids don't play in sewers anymore.
Right.
Well, you see what happens when they do. They get eaten by clowns.
True.
You can't just be sending your kids in sewers. Did you guys play in sewers? Because I have.
I have. Yeah.
I guess
summer camp. Yeah.
We've all dressed up as Ninja Turtles. It's fine.
I don't know if I would say they were. I don't know if they were actual sewers. What do you? There's just like
drainage ditches, definitely
water pipes. We walked in.
We've definitely walked in gray water before. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean,
we're fine. We turned out okay.
Yeah.
We rode bikes.
Right. Without helmets.
I never had a helmet.
We all went in our backyard and had ninja fights with dandelions and sticks and pretended we were in Blind Fury. Just me.
You're the only Blind Fury.
We drank hose water,
Yeah.
And I keep saying, dude, you did that last year. You need to quit bragging about it on the show.
I got a full-size backyard now. I could do that now if I wanted. And I can
Blind Fury fight anytime I want.
And I'll let my neighbors come out and ask questions.
I want to see Matt outside just like Blind Fury fighting. Connie walks out like, what in the fuck?
Matt, get a stick. We got to fight. She was like, no.
Grabs one and just
get in the house.
Oh my God. So good. I lost all train of thought how we even got to the sewer thing here, but
we were talking about Goonies and how it can be remade today.
But seriously though, I like that they're doing the series. I heard some people get angry about it. I'm like, the Goonies series isn't actually the Goonies. It's about a group of kids. It's basically they're making a series about a group of kids who decide to film their version of Goonies, which is kind of like the Indiana Jones thing, which is great. So I like that. I think that's really cool, and I'm excited to watch that. That, to me, is a perfect thing to do because when I was a kid, that's what I would have wanted to do. So to me, that works. Lost Boys is another one they keep talking about remaking, and I think you could make a movie in the Lost Boys universe, and it might be okay. They've tried. They haven't been great.
Yeah, they're called sequels, and
those ones are not good.
Yeah.
But it's the Crow thing all over again, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to get this in through people's heads. They made some bad Crow sequels, and you want to reboot it. I get that. And your brain is telling you, well, the best way to reboot it is to redo Eric Draven. That's where you're making your downstep. Reboot it by making another Crow. Just make it good, unlike the sequels. And don't call him Eric Draven. I put a video up on the Movie Mix, and I kind of asked that question, like, do you think people would like it better? And one of my comments was straight up like, yeah, I think that's part of the problem. They called it Eric Draven, and that just, people didn't want that, man. They pissed them off right from, step one. So The Lost Boys is the same. They've talked about remaking it, and I'm like, but it's a product of 1987. Like, those kind of characters can't exist if it wasn't 1987.
Yeah.
So it's not going to have the same vibe or the same feel. And that's what Kevin was saying. If it doesn't have the same feel, you're not making the same movie. And that's what pisses people off. They watch it and they're like, this doesn't feel like my movie. Matt and I talk about it. Well, we didn't because I think it got cut. But we had a discussion. We do another show called Real Talk where Matt and I talk about movie franchises. And we both brought up Wonka.
Yeah.
Wonka. And neither of us disliked the movie. But it wasn't Willy Wonka.
No, it was another young entrepreneur trying to start his business and getting out there in the world. But
there was no darkness, no edge.
Yeah,
yes,
it was.
I think
they attempted darkness with the
the Tim Burton one.
The indentured servitude, we'll say, of
let me
the
rephrase.
place they rent the room
Let me
from.
rephrase what I said. Willy Wonka had no darkness and no edge. He was likable, liked everybody.
Correct.
I never, watching the Willy Wonka movie as a kid, reading the books, which I did, never once thought this dude loves kids. No,
Right.
Yeah.
I always thought like there's this,
and you also went and the Oompa Loompas are 100% slaves. This
Yeah.
is what they are. They're slaves.
Totally.
I never felt like that
In the illustrations of the book, they're definitely
in the book, but not in the movie.
Yeah,
I
not in the
felt like
movie. No,
they were
no.
his,
They
like,
well, he hijacked their chocolate. So
yeah,
he's like, "You
Kinda
got all
true.
our chocolate. We have to be here because that's how we survive." You
Uh,
monster.
in the books. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's say this, that the Oompa Loompas were more like serfs. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
Or
In the book.
sharecroppers in the chocolate factory. It's a dark, history there, but
The book is a lot darker. You were never supposed to read that book thinking that Willy Wonka was this good dude.
no.
That book was about
I mean, the author
bratty
wasn't a good
kids.
dude.
No,
Yeah.
and he
Roald
did not like
Roald
children.
Dahl. He got
Nope.
notorious child hater Roald Dahl.
Yeah, he did not like
Mhm.
kids. That's why the Matilda, all that are about like bratty kid. Like, and all the kids in Matilda are freaking jerks except for Matilda.
Yeah.
And the same with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Charlie's the only redeemable kid. The rest,
Yeah.
you ain't gonna convince me those kids didn't die. Like, 'cause they were,
Yeah, he straight up murdered
Yeah.
them. Which, by the way, the Christopher Lloyd version of Willy Wonka is the only acceptable one outside of Gene Wilder.
love it.
There's a Christopher Lloyd.
It's
Oh.
like a short that was made for
It's a
like
short.
College
Yeah,
Humor or
it's
something, but
not- yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
yeah, it's super dark.
So with that being
Christopher
said,
Lloyd just
Wonka,
murdering kids. Yeah.
Wonka's not a bad movie, but that's not
No.
the Willy Wonka you're getting. He's way too. I like kids. I like people.
It's
I'm just
definitely
happy.
Yeah, that's
as they
bullshit.
say, a villain origin story.
maybe
basically what it
in the next one we get to see
There you
him
go.
turn.
Speaking
Mhm.
of other villain origin stories, the Joker and Taxi Driver, very similar stories. Which Jay and we've talked about before.
Very, very similar.
Yeah.
Which is my problem with the Joker. It's not the Joker. It's Taxi Driver, and I had a rough time with it. I don't really care. I didn't really care for Taxi Driver. It's too. I like dark movies, but not that kind of dark movie. Like those
Yeah.
ones, sort of. I don't
When
know.
you don't feel good about yourself watching
Yeah.
it.
You feel dirty when it's done.
Like Devil's Rejects. First time I saw that one, I was like, ugh, God.
And the Joker will definitely
Crap.
make you feel dirty when you're done. Like, ugh,
Mhm.
God, not dirty like
Cannibal
You're-
Holocaust. That's another one. Oh, movies that are so messed up that you just need to take a shower.
Right.
Nice.
I'm gonna go meditate and cry now,
Yeah.
sort of thing.
I feel the same way after I masturbate a lot. I cry a lot.
So follow us on social media, guys.
So let's go ahead, put in a real quick cut, and then we're going to come back, and I want you guys to kind of let me know any more movies you can think of where it's just kind of like, I always thought this reminded me a lot of that, even if you don't know why it reminded you of that. So yeah, let's go ahead and drop in social media and a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Make sure to follow us on social media. We are on Facebook at Tapeworms, fans of the Mixtape Podcast. Check us out on Instagram. Follow on TikTok as well. You can follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you like the show, don't forget to like, comment, and share the show with your friends. And as always, stay awesome.
Head over to bustedtees.com. Find all your geeky apparel, t-shirts, hats, stickers, socks, whatever, with cool game and movie and TV inspired stuff on it. I promise you're going to like this stuff. And at checkout, if you use my code Jason25945, you're going to get 20% off. That's bustedtees.com. Promotional code Jason25945. And with that, we are back. I don't know if we got Matt's hands in there or not. That's up to Matt.
Well, I'm in the edit, so let's see.
That's why I said that's up to Matt. He edits the video, which we are on YouTube now. If you guys would rather watch our lovely faces, and we have images and stuff that go along with what we're talking about. So
Good to see
head over there, Matt. Do you know the YouTube
those
handle?
googly eyes on that.
probably up with our social media. But
let me check.
So mine for the movie mix, which is where I do short form videos about upcoming projects, and then Matt and I do one over there called The Real Talk, which is a long form where we deep dive into franchises and stuff. That is the Movie Mix 76. So if you do at the Movie Mix 76 on YouTube, you should take you right there. So we have one for this as well if you guys want to go over and check that out.
Yeah, and it's just at the Mixtape Podcast on
There you
YouTube.
go. So you can go over and watch that. And we've been doing we've had a few interviews, and those are up over there as well. Matt just interviewed Mike Kaplan, and we also did Will Turpin from Collective Soul. So go over and check those out, man.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. We do put them up audio so you can listen, but you should watch them. So, because, especially the interviews. Interviews are a little more.
Interviews are really fun.
Yeah, fun to watch sometimes. So,
yeah.
So, are there movies that you guys can think of just off the top of your head where you're like, I always thought those were very similar? For example, a lot of people think Matilda and Carrie. I have heard the comparison.
That's very true. I hadn't thought of that before. Yeah.
But there are a few that people tend to talk about a lot. I keep hearing this thing where people say the Lego movie and the Matrix are the same. And then people will try to compare Star Wars and Harry Potter. I get where they go with it, but they're really not the same. But I do get that.
I've heard Star Wars and Dune. And
Star Wars and Dune get compared a lot.
Yeah.
Which I've never seen any of the Dunes.
I've seen like the first one, like from '85.
You should watch the new ones; they're really good. Yeah,
I've heard
on my list.
Yeah, they're really good. I think Star Wars. We talked about this on an episode. A lot of those movies can go back, like to like the Seven Samurai and like these Kurosawa movies. Like you can go
like
back.
Old westerns. The Mandalorian, for example. Yeah.
Yes. A lot of them are based around that. Yeah. That's real common stuff. So those to have like these very similar plot points is not uncommon.
I'll tell you one that I literally watched last night, and hear me out on it. It's part of a franchise, a much larger franchise. But we watched Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes last night.
How was it? I haven't seen it yet.
It was a later entry in a long-running franchise.
Right, I've seen the others. So you didn't like it as much? Really?
I without spoiling it, I did not like the way it ended at all. Connie did not like the way it ended.
I don't know what happens, but I've heard there's some ending issues with it.
Yeah. So, but it is almost a straight up remake of the original.
Is it?
Yeah.
Like the original? The
original without the twist ending. I think they tried to
get your paws off me, you damn dirty ape. Original.
It's close. It's speaking humans.
Like Spaceballs coming out of her nose. Original.
Yeah, there you go. Spaceballs and Star Wars. Which, for the record, I saw Spaceballs before I ever saw Star Wars.
Fair.
Really?
Yeah.
And
although what was it I watched? I also did the same thing with Hot Shots, and then saw Top Gun, and I just think that it's a unfunny version of Hot Shots is all it is.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a parody. It's an intentional parody, but I prefer Hot Shots. With no context, it made those jokes funnier in Hot Shots. Like finally seeing what they were talking about, I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it now. That's great." But yeah, like with going back to the Planet of the Apes, I mean, it's like there's so many other stories that they could have done in the ape world, and they decided let's just rehash something that's already been done. And I don't know if that was the intention behind it, of just kind of like, let's bring the original series into it and like kind of pick up and just start remaking the original series.
New ones, or
which ones, Kevin?
You couldn't get into the new ones, Kev?
Well, just any of them, like as far as like the Planet of the Apes world.
I've seen now of the original run, because there were quite a few. I've probably seen the first 3, and then I never saw any. After that, I saw the Tim Burton one, and I was one of the few people that didn't hate it. I didn't think it was great, but I didn't hate it.
Which
is all right.
In this one, I don't know if this was intentional, but I feel like they brought in like at least some of the look of the gorillas, like the gorilla military tribe of apes. I think some of the helmet design was kind of taken from that
weird
film.
Helmets that look like bishops from a chessboard.
Yeah,
that's what I always thought they looked like.
Yeah,
it looked like a bishop. I've heard a lot of people, and I've only seen Oblivion once, but I've heard a lot of people, and I don't remember it well enough to know if this comparison, but they say Oblivion and WALL-E are very similar movies. And that blows my mind. Like, you see it a lot if you go searching this stuff. People are like Oblivion and WALL-E. And I've seen WALL-E a bunch, but I'm like, I've only seen Oblivion once, and it didn't really.
In 2013.
It didn't really
heard it. Oh, okay.
It's Tom Cruise
from WALL-E.
He just remakes movies.
I was gonna say, is he just in everything, or they're like, we're just gonna put you in this other movie that's similar to this other thing?
Yeah. So this here says plot: one of the last drone repairmen on Earth finds a spacecraft, which leads to a discovery that puts the fate of mankind in his lap. So I guess kind of.
Sure.
And WALL-E, that's kind of what happens. Terminator 2 and Looper, I get that sort of. I don't. It's kind of.
It's a time travel movie. You got to go back in time.
He travels, but he travels back to prevent the son from growing up. He has to kill the son to whatever.
Yeah,
I get it. Somebody said Alien and Juno. An unplanned pregnancy leads to a sticky situation.
That one's good. I like that.
Aladdin and Les Miserables. This one's always cracked me up. Finding Nemo and Taken. Overprotective single father falls into a dangerous situation in search of an abducted child.
Heads up.
Those are the ones that are to me very like stretch. I get where the jokes coming in. But to me, there are those that we talked about that are just like, these are the plot. Like, this is the plot. You're not stretching to reach these. It's there. And then there's a whole slew of movies where I think when you watch them, they remind you of another movie. That's different. A lot of people say that Dances with Wolves was Pocahontas as well. So
pretty much.
Dances with Wolves came out first, though. And Fern Gully. Fern Gully gets thrown in there a lot too. I love Fern Gully.
A lot of movies with like an environmental slant to them.
Yeah.
Compared to that. Fern Gully's just great, by the way.
Fern Gully's a great movie.
So good. Robin Williams as a bat. Like, two of my favorite things. Bats, Robin Williams.
Ferns.
Gullies.
Gullies a lot. Yeah. So what do you guys think overall? Like, did you enjoy that? Was that kind of fun? Because I like watching their faces as I started reading the plot, and I'd see this.
It's like, it's definitely Escape from New York. It's not Escape from New York. It should be Escape from New York because it sounds just like Escape from New York.
Now I'm going to put together a whole episode. Matt and I are going to put together an episode together where we just take plots and read them to Kevin and see if he has seen the movie based off the plot.
Oh, that actually would be a good one.
We won't tell him what the movie is till afterwards. We'll each pick like 3 movies or something. And we should pick some stuff where you ever just watch a movie and you sit down and you watch it and you're like, it's pretty good. And then you stop and think like, let me think about that plot in my head. And you're like, oh my God, if somebody would have just read that plot to me, I'd have been like, I ain't watching that shit. Like, that sounds ridiculous.
The Peanut Butter Solution.
Which is totally a remake of Dances with Wolves. Oh my God, the Peanut Butter Solution. We've tried to synopsize that to people. We've tried.
You sound like a crazy person who's going through a mental fit at the time.
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get attacked online for this. I have been talking about the Peanut Butter Solution since I was a little kid, and no one talked about that movie. No one knew what the hell it was. Then years back, Matt and I did a show years back.
2014, I think is what it was.
We did a show called Twisted Kid, which is where some of this stuff stems. And we had to hunt that down. You couldn't find it to watch.
Now you can buy it on Blu-ray on Amazon very easily.
And other shows have talked about it, but no one was talking about the Peanut Butter Solution. People acted like I was crazy for years. So I just want to say, maybe it's my fault it's out there.
Could be.
You're welcome.
Right. I'm looking up the actual plot to the Peanut Butter Solution.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do this. This is off tangent. We're going to do this to end this episode. Matt's looking up a plot synopsis. I'm going to give,
and it doesn't even come close.
This has nothing to do with this episode, guys. Not really, but it's just going to be a fun way to close this one out. I'm going to give a real quick what I can synopsis of Peanut Butter Solution. And then Matt's going to read what he reads the actual synopsis is offline after I give mine. And we're going to leave you guys with that. So here we go. This is me trying to synopsize Peanut Butter Solution. All right. So, I don't even know where to start.
It always starts with, all right. As in, strap yourself in. This is going to get weird.
So literally, I'm trying to think how the movie freaking starts, where to start. So there's this kid, and there's this building that burns down, and he's dared to go in that building by his buddy named Connie. And Connie dares him to go in. He goes in, sees something so terrifying, he falls out of the building. You heard me, like rolls down a thing. And he goes into like a coma. And when he comes out, he loses all of his hair. Then 2 ghosts appear to him and give him a way to grow his hair back. They give him a magical solution. They tell him the thing is you can't put too much peanut butter in it. But the solution is too runny, so he adds extra peanut butter. That makes his hair start growing and never stops growing. You can't get it to stop. I would like to say that's the plot, but it's not. Because
not even half of it.
Then the movie takes a hard left turn. He can't get his hair to stop growing. There's a art teacher who, some reason, I don't know why, decides his hair must be magical, kidnaps him, starts kidnapping other kids to make them. He's cutting his hair to make it into paintbrushes and making the other kids slave labor. I don't know, man. There you go.
But what happens when you paint with these paintbrushes?
Oh, you can paint a picture and go inside of it.
Yeah. As long as you paint a picture of a real place, you can travel to that real place.
Yeah. That's best. I'm not going to tell you the ending. You got to watch it.
Yes. And yeah. By the way, that's where down there comes from.
Yeah. Connie, we'll let it.
Yeah. You'll have to watch it. And
you need to watch it.
Let's just say there was a point where I looked at my wife, Connie, who's very upset that there's a character that shares the same name with her.
A boy named Connie, a
young Asian boy named Connie, who asks if once he sees his formerly bald, now extremely hairy friend growing hair, if he can use it down there.
Yeah.
To speed up the process.
If he wants pubes, that's what we're saying.
Okay. To which I turned to my wife, Connie, who I believe was my girlfriend at the time. I don't think we were married yet.
You weren't.
Then she somehow actually chose to marry me after watching this movie. I turned to her and I say, I swear to God, if we see a kid running around with pubes hanging out of his pant leg, I'm turning this movie off.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah,
you do.
You do. It happens.
This is Canadian kids movie with some Celine Dion singing the theme song.
2 songs on the soundtrack. This is pre-fame Celine Dion.
What's the actual synopsis for this before we let you guys go? What is the actual synopsis?
Actual synopsis taken from IMDb.com.
There we go.
All right. Peanut Butter Solution, released in what year? 1985. Rated PG, has a 6.0 out of 10 on IMDb.
Wow. That's higher than what I thought.
Directed by Michael Rubbo. So it just gets weirder there. The actual plot synopsis. Peanut butter is the secret ingredient for a magic potion made by 2 friendly ghosts. 11-year-old Michael loses all of his hair when he gets a fright and uses the potion to get his hair back. And that's it. That's the whole thing.
That is not the movie. I just want to be clear. That's one small portion of the movie.
I'm going to put this out. I think we need to reach out and see if we can get a hold of Matthew McKay, the star of Peanut Butter Solution, and see if we can get him to come on the show.
That would be great.
He's also in Little Women from 2019.
Oh, that's good. That movie's actually decent. The 2019 Little Women is a pretty good movie. So.
He's also in Little Men from 1998, but I guess weird. They had to make a weird prequel.
That's bizarre. So there you go. That's go watch Peanut Butter Solution. Let us know too if there are any movies that you thought, like when you watched it, you're like, hey, this reminded me a lot of.
Yeah. Let us know if there's any movie that shares the same plot as Peanut Butter Solution. We'll watch that.
So I think somebody was like, I'm going to make a movie so original. I'm going to write a plot so friggin' original that no one can copy it ever. And that was Fuzz Bucket. And then somebody else was like, oh, you dared me. I'm going to make Peanut Butter Solution. Guys,
we hadn't brought up Fuzz Bucket in a while.
We love you guys so much. Thank you for listening, as is always the case. And as you may have caught, we're doing episode every other week now for the foreseeable future. We all three have projects and stuff we're working on outside of here, so it just gets difficult sometimes to to whatever the word I'm looking for. It just gets hard to do this and those, but we're everywhere. We're omnipresent, and it doesn't mean we won't be releasing supplemental stuff like the interviews and stuff in between. So be checking those out. Yeah. Obviously, we dropped the social media stuff a few minutes ago. You guys can go check us out on all of those. Please visit our sponsor, BustedTees.com. BustedTees.com is awesome, and we appreciate all of you that have.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
If you spot the lady cop in this background and you know what that is a reference to, leave a comment where it is, and I'll high five you when I see you in person, because I don't know what I was going to do. So that was for the moment. So
high five you. That's what we'll do. We'll give you lady cop. If you spot it, just walk up. If you ever spot Matt in public, just walk up behind him and yell "Lady Cop" as loud as you can.
Hell yeah, do that. I want people randomly accosting me, yelling "Lady Cop."
Lady Cop! Lady Cop! That would be the best. I hope it happens at least once.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching, and we'll talk to you here soon. Until next time, guys. Remember to always
stay awesome.
That was our best one in a long time.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching the mixtape. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Click the bell icon for notifications when new videos come out. And remember to always stay awesome.